Well, welcome, everybody, to another Audit Tuesday. This is Jerry Sasson with MyTech.Network. Thank you guys for joining. We've got a great lineup today, great guest speakers. Garret, thank you for putting this together. Garret with YouAttest. Why don't you take a minute, just introduce yourself.
Yeah, Garret Grajek, identity guy. That's what I've been doing the last 40 years of my life. Little background. Sorry about that. There you go. Garret Garret Grajek, identity guy. Have been doing identity since as long as I can remember. The wonderful work over at companies like IBM, Cisco's, and others. And then onward with companies that have started like SecureAuth, great AI work over at Silence, and then went over and started this wonderful company, YouAttest, which we'll get into.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And just a little bit about myself. I've got about 30 years in technology, business development, sales, really kind of bringing solutions to the table to customers, enterprise and mid-market customers that really mean something. I really decided to stay more independent, and actually one of the gentlemen we've got with us today as a guest speaker is Robert Hilliker. Robert and myself and a couple other guys are looking to start up a whole new venture, and it really dives into AI and governance around AI. And we've got some pretty incredible solutions that we're bringing to the table. I want to just kind of turn it over to Robert for a minute. Robert, give us a little introduction of yourself.
Yeah, hi, Robert Hilliker. So I've been, I guess, in the tech industry for about 35 years. I'm a prognosticator of the technology trends. I have the weird ability to sort of notice when things might actually be changing, and there's a transformative time that occurs, and we've all experienced it that may have been on this call, with the advent of the internet. It became a network, and then we had Y2K and all of that stuff that occurred at the turn of the century, and now we're standing at a gateway with AI, and that's why we're aligned ourselves with YouAttest and with Garret here in a good way to to speak to the benefits of what he's bringing here to the table with the GRC. So with that, I'll turn it back over.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. So thanks, guys, for joining this, and thank you everybody that's joined out there. I think we've got a really exciting conversation around this. I want to get right into it. Robert, kick it off. Let's talk a little bit about the big picture. Share with us a little bit about an overview of some of the AI projects you're currently being involved in. How are they addressing real world challenges? We all know that AI is the new electricity, right? What electricity did for manufacturing, AI is going to do for pretty much any business, really. And but there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know what we don't know, right? And there's even legislation they're trying to pass that says we don't want to govern it either. Well, somebody's got to be responsible with it, right? Because otherwise it could get out of hand. So talk a little bit about the current projects, and your experience in managing these initiatives.
Yeah, so before I talk about anything in specific with regard to projects, I think it's important that we kind of set the sort of the landscape when we're in. Like right now, we're at really the very beginning of something that we don't even know the scale or scope of. We truly don't. And this is not that we're out there like we did in Y2K and said, my gosh, the boogeyman's coming. And they said, are you sure? And he said, well, do you want to find out if it's real or not? No.
Yeah.
Everybody bought in. They had to, because if someone starts doing this, then others will follow. They have to. Why? Because that becomes the new expectation in the marketplace. And the new expectation now is if you're not powered by some form of AI, if you're not going to be providing some sort of a benefit to them over your competitor, then you're not in the same game. And that's what we're at. We're at this place where just as the internet created, I remember I used to go to Google in 1998, that simple little search engine. I used to buy books off of Amazon, that little book company. And now those two organizations today, because they recognize the automation process, they recognize the technology that was necessary and required. They recognize that they weren't in the book game, they weren't in the freaking search game, they were in the data game. They were in the we're going to own these people. We're going to market these people. We're going to create a whole commodity. It's called the consumer. And we're gonna be an engine to connect them with all the crap that they want to buy. And today now we're at this next precipice, right? But this one is going from a two-dimensional world to a three-dimensional world. We're now transitioning from this flat earth of, well, we've got everybody connected globally and we can do everything we can do. Well, what more can we do? Well, we don't know. Well, you know who does? Artificial intelligence agents will know. They'll see the things we can't see. They'll report back to us and tell us our health and our wellness, and they'll improve our prosperity, and they'll increase the bottom line, and they'll do this in a more efficient and effective way. And here's the rub, is that's going to occur. It's who's going to start the ball rolling. What direction are they going to go in? And so you've got Amazon out there that says, come and join us, come into our ecosystem. And you've got IBM, and you've got Oracle, and you've got Meta, and you've got all of these guys now. They're all in the marketplace to grab the networks, the next iteration of what can be brought into that ecosystem. Because the consumer is one level, but this is a whole nother level. This is where they can sell products and services and solutions on an ongoing basis via subscription ad nauseum. Why? Because everybody's already adopted that way of seeing it. I buy my infrastructure and platform from Amazon. I buy my applications through them. I manage my data backend with them. I am with them. And now what can they do to help me, right? But here's where the rub is well, they're going to be there to help themselves. And we all know that. That's what they're in business for, and you can't fault them for that. The thing is we must have a way of seeing objectively that there is a community that we have that we bring into that ecosystem that has to be preserved and protected outside of that, outside of their multi-tenancy and their policies. We have to have our own wrapper. We have to have our own intellectual property wrapper and that which protects our company from these other agents that are going to be operating on our behalf. That's where I truly believe that Garret is on the right track here in terms of identifying who belongs in the community.
Right, absolutely. Garret, you want to add upon that at all? Any comments there?
Yeah. Like most things, let me just quantify something here. Am I showing the right screen? I got 3 of them up. Or so.
What is AI governance is what I'm saying.
What is AI governance? Guys, let's start here. Okay. First of all, everyone on this call loves AI. We just do. I mean, Robert and I started, over at Silence, 10 years in AI, and we fell in love.
Well, now we do. But if when the, what hits the fan and, things start to cause problems, we're not going to love it so much unless we're being responsible with it. Right.
Okay. I like that. I like that. That there is, but AI governance is basically stating, okay, we have extremely powerful tool. I mean, I'm talking to 2 guys from Texas. So, we're not outlawing guns and we're not outlawing AI. Okay. So how do we manage this? Okay. And what I want people to leave from this session is that we can rationally do this. We really can. That there are tools out there. There are mechanisms that we, as everyone on this call and everyone in the audience that you're already doing. The stuff that you're already doing, we need to apply to our AI building and our AI practices. And if we go there the right way, and I'm going to spell out frameworks that agree with that philosophy. But if we go with that, we can meet this slide. We can meet the objectives, which are everyone in IT. We want to be responsive, we want to be safe, and of course we want to be in compliance because we want to have our weekends and our evenings and not look over at lawsuits and stuff. So that's what that's at least YouAttest and my belief in AI is that it's a tool, it's a great tool, it's a really powerful tool, And we should, and I do believe this. I think not only should we be using AI, I think we should be all in our corporations. We should be developing AI to make our jobs better and people's lives better.
So that leads me to my, one of my next questions was, let's go back to Robert. Let's talk about the hurdles. Where do companies start? First off, what are the hurdles they can expect? Especially in, particularly in balancing, innovation with risk management.
Yeah. So right now, I mean, generative AI is pretty safe. It's a tool that's being used and introduced into the network in a good way through the client. It's not in any way affecting the environment, and that's the first iteration, right? Everybody is now, if you're a student, I don't care, elementary school, for God's sakes, now. If you're an elementary school kid, you're actually putting what teacher just asked you to do for homework. You're putting that into a prompt in ChatGPT, and then you're going to go out and play. I kid you not. You think this is the generation that's coming. This is the generation that believes that should just be commonplace. Just like my daughter thinks that the internet always existed. Just like we came from a place where we were sticking cards into big machines and they were giving us little green screens.
Robert, I have to add, I took a video of this carpool of volleyball girls that I drive, and right when the 12 hours TikTok was down, I videotaped them.
God.
And yes, Jerry, they were despondent.
Despondent.
I took them to the practice and they were despondent. And by the time it was off, it was back on and there was nothing but joy in the car. So yes, there was like ADBC for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And these are the people that are going to be sitting in the seats in the corporations that are currently operating as leaders in their industry.
Well done. Nice.
Okay, so what we have to be doing is we have to be thinking about how we introduce this, because it's going to be it needs to be there. Otherwise, they're not going to be attracted to that employer. They're not going to want to bring whatever it is that they're bringing, which I don't know what that is, except sitting around looking at TikTok videos. But they're that generation is going to be bringing an expectation, and so we're now at the point where we have to really think in terms of how we effectively bring this in, and who we trust. Who we trust to help us make that transition, because
we trust.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I mean, seriously, and I am not trying to paint anybody as bad here, but do you trust Google to be your leader into that? Because right now you do. I want you to know, if you have a Gmail account, if you're using Docs, if you're on Chrome, if you're living in that world and you've got their companion riding alongside you, and Gemini is stepping in to try to take care of all your daily needs, and it'll order pizza for you at 6 o'clock, and it'll do all of that stuff for you, and it'll make your life a whole lot easier and a whole lot better. And you've made a decision on your platform there. What we're talking about is much bigger in a scale. We're talking about bringing the entire industry of a country into that, and that means that if one gets compromised, they may all get compromised. We don't even know the scale of that. And so I think starting now, what we have to do is we have to start encouraging companies to put together a structure to see what it is that they currently have, as Garret stated, what they currently have on the paper. Pick a standard. And we think that and Garret will go more into this, but that the OWASP standard is a good standard, and then start building to that, so that you're prepared to at least introduce the next iteration of this, which is going to be the agentic AI, not the generative AI that you're used to now, that's going to help you with your papers. This is the one that's going to tell you where your systems are not working properly, where you can squeeze a few more dollars from supply chain, where you're going to be able to move things around organically inside of that, and significantly more flexible, right? That's the promise of it. And that means that the companies that adopt those technologies are the ones that are going to be leading the charge in terms of who's now the most competitive. And just like all the other folks that had to follow in the last iterations, everyone's going to follow. And so yeah, we believe that we're speaking to those people right now that are having that conversation with their boards, or having that conversation with their colleagues, about where do we go from here, because we all see it coming too, and we want
if you think a hacker can bring your business down now, wait till you get a hallucinating AI, right? So planning out and scoping projects, the scoping phase, right? My thought is that's where you need to start with governance from the very beginning as you're scoping the project out, ensure success. How do you see governance fitting into that stage? Where does that play? I mean, I think it starts where Garret has been playing in the identity space. Who are you going to allow into that? Who do you trust in it? Right.
Jared, can I start with the State of the Union where we are, like federal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me go here, and in theory, I'll show this screen. So first of all, what is the state of the external world? Because we're all in business here. Everyone on this call is like, okay, either we're building something, we're going to use something. We always have to understand governance is part of legal. There aren't that many laws out here. And Jerry, I'll let you point out something that you pointed to me this morning. The one law does exist is the EU. If you're doing business in the EU, and very important, everyone understands the concept here. What the EU law said is the first thing you have to do when building AI is know what the hell you're building. Okay? And that's seriously, I don't look at it as, we can have a lot of, cross-Atlantic, bashing and all that. I don't think it is bad, because what they said is, hey, AI is very powerful. Understand what you're building, and understand that some of these things we simply won't tolerate. Right? And they go into it. You can look up the EU things. It's just very, the bias, the stuff they straight out banned, but they put different risk levels in them. Is that whole?
The issue where you're talking about, I brought up this morning, is this big beautiful bill, right, that they want to pass that really bans the states. If you want federal funding, they don't want you to bring any regulation to AI for 10 years, right? So
yeah,
go ahead.
So this is, if you're working in the EU, make sure you understand what you're building, because there is a law. Now, this is what I say for us over here on this side of the Atlantic. That gives us a little more guidelines and leniency to say, hold it, we don't have to just immediately write to a law. If you're doing healthcare data, you write to a law, whatever. What is start looking at the frameworks that make the most sense for you, okay? Because as Jerry just stated, will probably get passed is something that says, hey, we're going to release tons of U.S. funding towards the states that don't have laws on AI because they want growth. That's their mentality. Fine. Okay.
You mean like Nevada?
There you go. So there's different frameworks out there that are all well-intentioned, but what's really right for you? The NIST AI RMF, I think, is the most largest and has a lot of information in it and a lot of controls and a lot of things that might not be right for your size of organization. It's really is you're ticking on a big thing. ISO is a little better. It's a little more, I think, focused. The two ones that if you're a medium-sized company or you're developing AI and you looking you in the eye right here, and you give a damn about creating something that's secure. And you do it, Garret. We create secure products because we just know it's the best way to do business. We build a secure product. We don't get hacked. But governance means not what you think about compliance. Governance is what we agreed upon building, the product actually executes on. Okay? That's what governance is. And that's where I think the OWASP did a really nice job, and we're going to be stepping through some of that of helping you scope out your project and make sure what you want to build gets built. MITRE has done a good job. Once again, MITRE does really good at helping you map threats to your AI. And I can share these slides with people. But I did a bunch of research on this and all that. And so basically, here's your breakdown of if you want to start with, you got your AI project and you want to make sure you map it to a governance program. Yes, and a lot of these cross-pollinate. Okay, if you choose to go through the OWASP, and you will see that they cross-pollinate into the other frameworks and vice versa. But this is the way I've seen it in the research we've done and talkings that we're breaking down. Is NIST is very large. It's going to take you a lot of time. So you should be understood that Same thing with ISO. It's going to take it, but it's implementation friendly. Atlas is if you're making your living today, I would say that if you're making your living today doing pen tests on regular, I would take a look at MITRE Atlas and put that in your repertoire and know how to pen test AI, because I think they've done once again a phenomenal job of that. And I say if you're a development shop and you've used OWASP before for developing, I would look at the OWASP, okay, and look at what they're saying about Gen AI and the LLMs, and we'll talk a little more about that later.
All right, let's talk about data, right? Data augmentation, fine tuning. What kind of challenges have you seen in that area? And data. That's really what AI is going to be leveraging, is the data, right? I mean, what are the challenges you're seeing there?
You want to start with that, Robert, on the development side, and I can go into the GRC side, data?
Yeah. So, I mean, the data is the gold, right? I mean, that's
what's going to drive the AI.
Well, yeah. And so here's the thing. Everybody wants to be the repository for that, right? They want to be your Fort Knox. They want you to keep building in their infrastructure and keep your data in their infrastructure. And then they want to layer tools, AI tools, to help you manage that data. But here's the thing. And I know I told you I'm a prognosticator, okay? But you could actually go in and manipulate markets just by messing with a specific company's supply chain in a particular time of the year, in a particular condition. That means that you could in essence know which pony to bet on, and you're going to know who you can short. Now, and I'm telling you that's where gold is that if they have access to that kind of data, if they have a way of seeing that, of harnessing that which now sits inside your four walls. But now we've expanded it, right? Remember, we took our data centers and we said, here, go ahead and take them, AWS and Google. And now AWS and Google have our data centers, and that's okay. They're doing great. They can't do anything with it because we're still protected in that. But when we start putting an agentic AI environment in there inside of that framework, it's going to be able to mine for things in its own innocent way of trying to make the system better. It's going to make discovery, and it's going to retain that discovery, and it's going to make decisions on that discovery. And there's an engine that's controlling all of that discovery making. It's Google and Amazon. And if you don't know that, then you clearly.
That's a scary thought.
It is a scary thought, and so people have to be very mindful of, if you're going to go live in somebody's place. You can't just walk around the house in your underwear all the time, because there's people living in that house with you.
I love your analogies, man.
Well, but that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be, and you better.
Yeah, you're right. You live in a glass house, right?
Yeah, you better be prepared to make sure that no one can see what you're up to, or that somehow your gold becomes their gold.
He who lives in glass house could dress in basement, right?
and Robert, and let's face it, if you're in public and you're in a city like New York and especially look up London, for God's sakes.
Oh yeah.
Looks on Singapore and all that. Look at London. How many thousands and thousands of cameras they have on your left?
Cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
Your every move is tracked. Your every conversation recorded if they wanted to. I mean,
does this?
Yeah, it does. And so let's say, and this hyper surveillance it's not a boogeyman thing. It's all supposed to be designed for your safety. Do you feel safer knowing that all those cameras are there? Yeah. Is somebody going to snatch your purse? Well, if they do, they're going to be on camera. So yeah, there's that safety aspect, but there's also the aspect of, like, we knew exactly where you were. Like, do you have an alibi? Yeah, I was with my friends down at the pub. No, you weren't. You were over here on this corner, crossing the street, and we know that about you, and we didn't have probable cause, but we were able to put your facial recognition out there, and it pulled you up. It's like, okay, now we're getting off subject, but the point is that the environment that we choose to go into, at least when we go in there, know that we've got a good raincoat on and that we're protecting our data and our assets and our processes and our IP when we do so. And that's, that's GRC and a whole bunch of other stuff we haven't talked about here, but are all component pieces of that in a fully meshed, structured framework to be able to go ahead and step into this environment.
Jerry, I'd like to go on top of that about you, because your
Go
question
ahead.
was around data. So here we go. And this is where, I always like to look at this and go, guys, we're pretty good at this. We know what we should do. Look at these quotes. This is not me saying this. This is not even, OWASP or whatever. These are outside, everyone from Gartner to Deloitte.
Are you showing a presentation? Because I'm seeing your
Yeah, I'm seeing your talk track.
There we go. Thanks, guys.
I wasn't sure if I was trying to track with you there, buddy.
Yeah, there you go.
The AI took over. I blame the AI.
There you go. AI governance. Is that better, y'all?
Yes.
Thanks a lot. Is basically the world saying, okay, everyone, take a breath, start with what you're good at. And just because I work with a lot of CISOs and all that, they understand, the cybersecurity framework, and they understand the main principles of that. Start with this, especially around data. And Robert, what did they teach us at Silence? I mean, literally 10 years ago, right? What's the difference between AI? AI is, in the traditional code creates data. In AI, data creates code. Okay?
That's right.
There you go. So what all these wonderful people are saying.
Good way to look at that.
Yeah, is let's go. First of all, let's start with the data, and then let's use what we already know how to do. Okay? Mm-hmm. And that's where I get on my soapbox and say, okay, what are they saying? They're saying, and we'll break this out even more. Principal of least privilege, people. You can't have secure AI if you don't know who collected the data, who had access to the data when it was stored, who created the algorithms, and we're going to break this out. And then who the heck is controlling the algorithm once it's deployed, okay? And it goes right back to NIST CSF 2.0, PRA 05, principal of least privilege. What SolarWinds got in trouble with all this is about, is that know what you're giving access to and has access to what you're creating, okay? I really like the reading I did of this, and all the frameworks talk about that, is what's got to be done in these AI projects is you got to get a manifest. You got to have a manifest of this is what it is. I've got my data from here, okay? I'm not going to go into some of the stuff that I disagree with and I saw in some of the frameworks, but at least you have to document where you got the data from, what it was from, and then who had access to that. And that's your AI asset inventory. Is it a little different than, counting routers and switches? Yes, but it's the same concept. Keep your things and then document where you've got these access, et cetera. Okay. And once again, when it comes down to identities, all of the frameworks are saying straight up. They just have a little different spin on it or whatever. Like I said, NIST is very broad. ISO is a little more eccentric. MITRE is really good at helping you understand if you're really attack focused and if you're a pen tester. And OWASP, as a developer, you should look at it and say where it recommends identity and identity governance. Okay.
That's awesome. Good stuff, guys. Let's talk about deployment and maintenance, right? Keeping AI systems sustainable and they're aligned with, organizational goals, right? How can GRC principles support this? Yeah.
Okay, I can go first on that. And like I said, when it comes to the, blocking and tackling, am I showing the OWASP here, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Good.
What I liked about OWASP when it came to saying, if I'm building something, is it said straight out, okay, you got a project. We know we got to build this thing. What did it say to start with? It said to start with your access control and authentication planning. It literally said straight out that if you're doing an AI project, start to understand who has access to what. And if you don't, you're going to run into trouble. Okay. And look at this. Okay. Look at this. This looks like the complete, Garrett's nuts. He just writes on the wall and all that, which in silence, Robert, I did. They give me a big white.
Yeah.
I got to write it. It was fun. So This is what I did is I did a threat model. Okay. I did a threat model for an AI project. This is one's hypothetical. It's like, I'm doing a customer support AI model. Okay. Well, look at this. These are the different zones. Okay. So your external, who's going to use the AI? Quantify that, and then you should be able to review that. How is it being deployed? Well, if you don't have controls on where it's deployed, right? Someone could throw a different model in there and screw your life over.
Mhm.
Number 3, who actually had access when you built this thing? Okay, that's this control model here, and
including non-human identities who had access, right?
yes, yes, and those are
especially
hacks
non-human.
occurring all the time. 4, who had access to the data? Who had access to the data when you collected it? Okay. And can you document that? And team, I swear, if you want prediction here, that's where the lawsuits will be coming down the road. Okay.
Sure, that's the IP.
Number 3 and number 4, you didn't have controls on the data when you created your AI. And number 4, well, it's actually number 4 is you didn't have the access to the data. And number 3, you didn't have controls on the algorithm when you created it. And therefore, you cannot tell me this is secure. And then number 5, who's actually running this thing? The control center. That's where I see we have to. Like even for this, I said if you're running an AI project and this sample one for an LLM that's doing customer support one, these are the 5 groups that we got to be reviewing. So it's traditional practices that we're doing applied to the creation, deployment, and execution of a new technology. We can do this, and we're capable of this. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Robert, you want to go on top of that? You any comments on where
No, I mean, that was very well articulated. I mean, the fact is that everybody's trying to get to the gold, and I like the way the LLM was just kind of going right into the database, because that's basically what's happening. But anyway, I think it's kind of hilarious because everybody has sort of forgotten that we all sign these agreements with these providers that we're on, that whatever sits in our phone, they have ready access to. And God knows how much of that is used as part of the LLM model, right? And my point in this being is that we're going to become so diluted, in terms of the data. So the preservation of originals, the preservation of data that can be manifested, that can be certified, is going to be very important, because if they can gain access to the engine that will send a horrible letter to every one of your vendors and tell them that you got a price increase across the board, and let me tell you, the level of disruption that could be created in that moment. That's what we have to be concerned about is how disruptive is this disruptive technology going to be? And is it going to be disrupting us in a good way or a bad way, right? And there's good and bad. So yeah, I just that's where I guess the caution is that we have to have some human oversight in this, like as Garret has said, and we definitely have to preserve a copy of our own data in as clean a way as we possibly can, and not let that be corrupted by the system that's accessing it. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
awesome.
it.
Good stuff, guys. Hey, I got a question from the audience. There's been a lot of debate about who should handle issues like AI hallucinations. Should it be the AI engineers or cybersecurity team? Please share some tips for splitting up these responsibilities.
I'll take that first, just because to me that goes to something that I would prepare to talk about, and I'm glad we got this question. What are the policies we should have on AI? And I'm going to go through these. I did some research, of which is most companies, like 75%, already have acceptable use AI policies. I know this because I put AI into YouAttest, and I don't even agree with some of them, because some of the policies are that we can't use any AI, which I think is downright silly. And I think there should be a policy of we have to understand and they can't be at this risk level and all that. But that's there. And I'm going to get to the question. The other one is AI that we're using, we have to have a formal process of reviewing. Okay? I think that doesn't answer that one. But the third and fourth actually are relevant to this question, right? Okay? That develop, and these are straight out from the policies that are being used. How are we training and deploying these? Okay. I personally like these. And it says they're low usage today, but I think this is where we need to go. If you're deploying, and that was a great question for that person, if you're building your AI, you should have a playbook. You should say, no different. I started in QA, y'all. Okay. So no different than what we did in, building any other technology. We built some AI and we say, great, you guys built that. We in the QA team should also involve some pen tested concepts, a little bit borrowing of the stuff different OWASP and some of the stuff in MITRE. And let me test this. There should be standardized testing in there. There's nothing wrong with the friends in development starting a process at a minimum, but there is no question in my mind and what I'm reading that there should be a little, red team, blue team with the concept of AI, where the cyber guys get up to speed on pen testing these models and be it over. So my answer to you, and what seems to be agreed upon in the public, is that there's no question that the development team should do a little bit of pen testing on their own, but the cyber team needs to come up to speed on these and on the mechanisms. And that's what stuff like MITRE is this for. So you can get up to speed and you can know what are the ways you can attack. I'll go a little deeper on this because I've been to some great webinars on this and great in person on this. There is no way a cybersecurity team can do its job in AI without understanding the data. You can't, it doesn't work. I mean, because there's no automation tool that can help us understand how data is poisoned without understanding at a deep level what type of data is good and what type of data is not. Mm-hmm. And they have to be data cognitive. I'll let you go on top of that, Robert.
All I have to say to this is if you ever withstood a SQL injection as a threat vector inside your network, get ready, because you're going to have AI injection. And try to think about that. Put that on a level that can bend your brain, because the fact is that's at a three-dimensional level. That's not just something that's going in there and doing a very simple function, and because of some poor hygiene, someone pulled it out. But we're talking now, it's much broader. It has the ability to touch the whole network, and so an AI injection is something we have to be prepared for. And so knowing where you're at in the food chain, knowing what standards you're on, and knowing and understanding, as you put it, the what was that, the contract,
what is our policy on this?
The
policy is just saying, hey, this group is responsible for this group's responsible for that.
Exactly. Being very clear and delineating that very, very, very clearly from the front end, because it's the possibility of it, the eventuality of it is real, and it's present now. And the deeper that we go down the AI rabbit hole, the more we discover, right? And so it's just, let's go with the right equipment, with the right policies, and with the right framework, and dare to lead our industry, as a true competitor out there. Because I guarantee you, there's going to be small companies out there that nobody even knows of today that are going to be the Googles and the Amazons of tomorrow, because they came at this in a good way, and they formulated a very good policy, and they stepped into it, and they put the resources where the resources needed to be. And because Yeah, it's like we keep stacking firewalls and throwing more cybersecurity stuff at the front door, but the back door is what we got to be watching out for, and that's the one where we invite people to come in, and that's the place where we're already doing it. AI already exists, and yeah, and you're right, Garrett. Just saying no AI at all, that's ridiculous. Join the Stone Age.
Yes.
Join the
Thank
Stone
you.
Age. You're gone. Bye bye. See ya.
Yeah.
That you just went to the back of the line, right? So you've got to have a responsible way of stepping into this and having trusted, solutions consultants and folks. Somebody wants a demo. Are we doing a demo? Let's do a demo.
No, I don't think we're doing it. We have time
Yeah.
for a demo, but we certainly, reach out to MyTech.Network, information at MyTech.Network. We can get you set up with a demo with Garrett.
Yeah,
I do want
that's
to take some time to, let's talk a little bit about where can people get educated on GRC, right? I'll put a plug in there. I'll start with, our friend James Sales. We've had him on our
Nice.
on this podcast once, and we hope to get him back here shortly. But he's written a great book called AI Governance and Model Risk Management. It's available on Amazon. You can rent it there, or you can buy it. And then, matter of fact, I'll show a picture of the cover here, or show the cover. I don't know if you guys can see this. Get it right there. Maybe not. There it is. There it is. Yeah, thanks for my background. But anyway, so we're working with James also, and going to be partnered
Nice.
with one of the monoliths. I can't exactly mention it right now, but be watching for this on our website as well. We're going to be offering executive training courses, both on-site in the enterprise customers, as well as at this partner's training facility in Austin. There will be a cost
Jerry,
to it, but
let's
it'll be
talk
great
about it.
education.
So basically what you do is take more time, go through what enterprises need to do for AI GRC.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Basically, the content will really pretty much be built around the book. Now, the book goes really deep, man. It covers everything. And then it's dependent on your organization and what compliance requirements you have. You might not need to do everything, but it's a great place to start to get educated, right? And it'll go towards training. We're trying to get this goes towards training credits to be certified in AI governance and model risk management. So we'll make that happen. So anybody else? Garrett, maybe you've done a lot of research on this. Can you share maybe some places to go do some research? And I know you want to talk about, I definitely want to hear you talk about how YouAttest is addressing governance.
The first was use what you already got, y'all. Okay. That's where the NIST CSF comes in, right? Once you got that down, right? Then I think following a little, I'm going to do this, and because I am going to share one more slide about how YouAttest works in this. Okay. In theory, I'm showing that's it. I think starting with this, and I can put this in a link or whatever, starting with this and see what maps to you. And it's real important. And I'm talking to you guys who are in governance and in cybersecurity. Understand what your enterprise, and you probably already do have an idea of what your enterprise is. You might be, Garrett, we're always by the book. We're a big company, we're the state of Illinois. We follow NIST AI RMF. Okay, know it, love it, learn it, write the controls out. We're a development shop. Okay, let's go with OWASP. We're EU shop. Let's go with ISO. We're attack vectors. Go with MITRE. Okay. So one thing I was remiss as is I had this wonderful slides which I've used and helped other companies plot it. How did YouAttest help in this situation? This is what we do. This is what we do every day. We've done like 4 million times. We have someone who's in risk manager cybersecurity says, I got these regulations, guideware frameworks, but Garrett, I got all these identities and I'm all over the place. Here, and here. Okay. And if you take my last, threat model, you got 5 different vectors they're coming from. Rock and roll. The product imbibes. You and the MSPs, we got MSP versions. You and the consultants, we got consultant versions. That GRC practitioner could be someone living there, could be the MSC consultant, or can even be us. We can run as an MSSP. It takes the data, and then what it does is it pushes out the roles and says, hey, this is what you're telling me with the metadata that I gathered for in your IAMs and all this. These are the rules you're enforcing. Okay. Remember I said principal of least privilege. Who the hell has access to the data you collected? Who has access to the algorithms you created? That's what the product does. And then what it does for you in GRC and security, it says, hey, here's your report. This is who has access. Are you good with this? Because it's a process. People can go through there. At this stage right here, it can go and they can delete those things that says, no, Bob shouldn't have access. Rima should not have access. Jane should not have access. And that all gets attested and changed back to here. And it's relevant. It's relevant to your GRC program, to your security program, and it's relevant to your AI program.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Garret.
Yeah.
We're running out of time here. We're getting close to wrapping this up. Let's, I guess, let's just have some closing comments. Garret, why don't you go first for closing?
We can do this. We can do this. That's the way I always feel about most things in life. And I think we're all skilled enough. We just use the right tools, use the tools we know, and take some extra training, take some extra courses, and we're on the right way. I love what Jerry said about the James Sales stuff.
Yep. That's James, Sayles, like say less, right? It's
Yeah.
not sales. He's not a sales guy. He's a say less guy.
And our inside, Jerry put the link of the webinar we did with James on this LinkedIn.
Yep. Yep. Robert, any closing comments?
I thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I probably have talked on too much, but what I will say is that we now stand at a place where we have to be very conscious of where we go next. And so I would want to follow someone who's probably been doing it for a little while. I know that about Garret in this regard. I was there with him at Cylance back almost 10 years ago. Wow. How time passes. And and one of the things that I learned over there, which became a staple in the industry, was that what you do is you sell them on a proof of concept. You put your tool set in their network, and that's the part of the network that suddenly goes quiet because you got this artificial intelligence that's stopping bad, and you don't have all this noise. And the next thing you know is that, well, how do we make the rest of the network like that? And then you just spread it across the network, and then get this. Before you do all of that, you better have an intrusion detection. You better do your pen testing. You better get things lined out properly. And that's the same model that was used at Cylance, so that we ensured, through a professional service that the network was sound to make that shift, and the tools were already in there. And so, I really feel like as a network, people need to be thinking about the tools that they're going to be putting in their network and how those are going to be used, and if they're friendly. And so, yeah, that's really it. It's a cautionary tale coming from me, because right now AI is fun. I've got friends that are building an app a week. Seriously, an app a week. Anything you can mind meld, brainstorm, you can actually make real now using AI and generative AI, and you can create agents, and people are working on that right now. And those agents, are going to be the next enemy.
Yeah.
So
well, we're working on that with MyTech.Network as well, to be the friend, right, and to help you ensure governance, risk, and compliance on your AI models.
Yep. All right, that's enough.
More to come on that. More to come. Can't let a cat out of the bag yet. So, well, guys, thank you so much. Garret, anything else? Either of you, feel free to pipe in there. But I'm going to close this out. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you on the next Audit Tuesday, and reach out if there's anything you want to talk about throughout you've heard or learned on this event. And thank you again for coming.
Yeah, reach out on LinkedIn or info at YouAttest, or go straight to MyTech.Network. Jerry's always got me. Talk to y'all.
Copy that. Take care all. Thank you.
All the best.